and welcome back to another episode of Over Underrated. And today we are looking at the world of dance punk, looking at Foals and Tom Vec. Tom Vec's been an artist that Babs has been wanting to do for a long time, so we made it happen. And we're looking at Foals being maybe overrated and Tom Vec being maybe underrated. We both made a 10-track playlist which we will share with you and discuss their songs, and then we come to a conclusion whether they are over or underrated.
Welcome to the Over Underrated podcast with Fran and Babs. Is it over or underrated?
Hello, dance punkers. It's another episode of Over Underrated with Fran and Babs. I am Babs, and I'm here virtually with Fran. How are you doing today, Fran?
Hello, the internet. I am eating some dough balls and some pizza.
Pizza Express.
It actually is Pizza Express.
Lovely bit of business, yeah.
Only people in the UK, I assume, will know that. John Robbins, comedian, big fan of him. And
Matthew Crosby and Ed Gamble also.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shout out to other podcasters into the Pizza Express
and previous
range.
Guests.
Yeah, and previous guests. I finished work half an hour ago, so I'm quickly slamming a pizza into my face so we can record this amazing new podcast on noughties indie. Is that the theme?
Dance punk.
Dance punk we're going for. Okay.
Dance punk we're going for. Yes, I also finished a work just before coming, and I realised that I actually haven't promoted, I think yet, or maybe more than once, the fact that I do other podcasts. So maybe I should take the opportunity to quickly do that and say that if you love hearing me talk about music, you probably won't love me. No, let me do that again. Yes, I should promote the fact that I do other podcasts. I am hosting a sustainability business podcast called Let's Talk Sustainable Business, and I interview interesting people about all sorts of sustainability things. Today I recorded an episode about plastics. I've recorded an episode about algae and how they're clogging up the oceans, but I spoke to this person who is collecting it and removing it. Lots of interesting subjects, and if you are a company looking to do sustainability reporting in Europe, you should definitely listen, or if you're trying to avoid greenwashing. End of promo.
Gear changed to the magical world of music. So what have you been listening to this week?
So nostalgia-wise, I have been listening to music from Guitar Hero 2, which we've discussed before, but I'd completely forgotten about Carry Me Home by The Living End. So again, it's a good song.
Aren't they from Canada?
They're from Australia.
Perfect. Yep.
From Australia and other English-speaking place. Again, now that you can see title stats, I can tell you I've listened to it about 20 odd times since, because it's a really good song and I just completely forgotten about it. Like, I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole of looking at all the songs from there. So I've been listening to that. I've been listening to Bad Reputation by Thin Lizzy as well, and The Sword by Freya as well. That's been good fun. More modernly, I think I mentioned him before, Masterpiece, who I saw supporting Nova Twins, How to Make a Masterpiece. His album is out and it's really very good. Would highly recommend. It's basically sounding a bit like the music we're discussing today, but, revamped for a modern audience. Very, very nice.
How
about you?
I have been listening to some older bands like Vampire Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Have a new single, which isn't very good. James have a new single, which isn't very good. Ride have a new single, which isn't very good.
Oh, no.
But I have listened to Angel Olsen's cover of Alphaville. Forever Young, I wanna be forever young. And I do love that, so that's a good thing. Listen to Angel Olsen's. She's got like an EP from maybe 2020. She's done some 80s covers. She did a Billy Idol as well.
Yes, we might have even discussed it when Helen brought the song that she did with Sharon Van Etten on. Yeah. I think again, don't quote me too much on that. I dip into Angel Olsen. She's got an amazing voice and she's got some really great songs. I did not know that song, and that's a good original. So if you're saying it's a good cover, it really must be good.
Yeah, I would say it's better than the original because she's got a nicer voice. I did see her on that Strokes gig last year. I don't mind her, but she's a bit too Americana for me, to be fair.
Wow. Okay, so I know what you mean, but it depends on the era. And she has an album that's a bit more synthy called All Mirrors.
All Mirrors.
I would recommend going there from 2019.
All right, maybe maybe 2019, 2020 is just having a electronic time. So maybe
Like Sharon Van Etten as well, right?
Yes, indeed. So, down to the podcast episode for this week and dance punk. Is that right?
Yeah. Basically, guys, I wanted to do Tom Vec for absolutely ages, and I went on the Wikipedia page and I was like, right, what genres is he? Dance punk. Okay, who else can be dance punk? All right. Foals can be dance punk. So,
any other bands you'd say are dance punk?
The Rapture is the first one that comes to mind.
Does it offend you? Yeah, are they dance punk?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even LCD Sound System. You know, it's. I think when you mesh, electronica and rock, I think that's dance punk. And I guess there needs to be a bit of groove in there as well, which you definitely have with both the acts we're talking about today. But yes, today we are discussing whether Foals are overrated and whether Tom Vec is underrated.
Overrated.
So, I had the task of making a playlist for our friends Foals from Oxford, England. They formed in the mid-noughties. And they've been together as a band since 2005. They were under the maths rock genre for a while, with the old sort of sounds happening. And
Beautiful.
I remember DJing and playing a Hummer, and that was getting the kids very, very excited. I remember the uproar when it wasn't on the album, shock horror. And I did not like Antidotes 2008. I found every single really annoying.
And yet you put 2 songs from it on there.
Well, I wanted to have a nice rainbow of it. And then I saw them supporting Blur 2009, and I really checked out. I think I went to get a hot dog.
I'm really surprised because I was like, for sure Fran has seen them, because this is exactly the kind of band that Fran has seen, and all I hear about is how amazing they are live.
But this is their first album, and you know, like when a band has only got one album and they're playing an hour, so they're playing like everything. So yeah, the standards were dropping for me quite.
Important question: how was the hot dog?
Well, it's probably like a tenner, because it's London, Hyde Park. But yeah, Blur were fantastic, and the Foals. So I pretty much, deleted the Foals from my life, and then they came back on my radar around 2013 with Bad Habits. And then on a computer game called Life is Strange, which has in the soundtrack, it's an amazing soundtrack, by the way, very emo, Spanish Sahara. And then I thought, okay, I might give this Foals guys another chance. And then I started to discover, like, I heard Inhaler for the first time, and I have no idea how that passed me by, because apparently it was massive. So I've been a fan looking back from about 2013. And then since then, I really enjoyed What Went Down, and they made a double album, Everything Not Saved, 2019. And then it all went wrong, 2022, with Life Is Yours, and more to that later on.
So you're a fair weather foal as well?
Yeah, I would say I've given the albums a run through over the past 2 weeks, and I wouldn't say they've got a classic album. I think they are a band who, ignoring the first album, they have 5 to 6 great tracks and then some filler, and making a double album was a mistake, because over those 2 albums I like probably 10, so they could have made a decent 10 track album, but they definitely don't need to have 22 tracks for me personally. But everyone seems to love it. I mean, I think the last album went to number 1, so they are kind of, looking at the stats, they're kind of bigger in the UK and Europe. They do okay in Australia. In America, I think they just sort of like scratch the surface, to be fair. What are your thoughts on Foals?
So I'm really glad that you did the playlist for Foals, because I think you know them better than I do. I feel that they're one of those bands that I should like more than I do, precisely because they're dance punk, they're math rock, they have a particular sound of the noughties indie vibes. And I enjoyed actually the songs that you've put from Antidotes, literally the 2 songs that you've put from Antidotes. But I think I listened to the whole album and that was kind of it. And then I think I checked out a little bit. I think also because when Antidotes was 2008, right? So the period of time where I checked out most of the music was between like 2009, 2011, where I was just in my own little bubble. And then I feel like the next time I heard them was My Number, which was just so massive and everywhere. And I was like, it's not a bad song, but like, oh my God, chill out. And yeah, obviously, Yanis Philippakis' Southern European roots, half Greek. Obviously, I feel like I should like a band with a Southern European front person a bit more represent. And yeah, it was interesting to read about his life. I had no idea. Like, I guessed one of his parents was Greek. I didn't know his mum was South African and that he lived in South Africa for a little bit. And the place where his dad is from is like an island where the population's like 500 or something like that. He
goes back there to write lyrics occasionally.
Yeah. A lot of the inspiration comes from Greece, which you're absolutely right. Greece is gorgeous. I'm hopefully popping over to Corfu this year. So let's see. The only other anecdote that I have that I think I might have shared before was that a guy from my class at school went to uni in Manchester and they went to see Foals, and then Foals came back to their student house to play another gig like as an after party. So I was like, that's pretty. And this would have been, in the mid-noughties, like between probably towards the end, right? Probably around the time that Antidotes came out. So yeah, again, I wanted someone to curate me a playlist across the discography, which you have done, to see whether they're more than Cassius and My Number, and whether I would like them.
So you didn't know like their big hit is like What Went Down? And
well, so it turns out, as so often, where it's like, oh, I've actually gone and saved in a lot more songs than I remember in like 2017. So coming into this, I thought I only knew 2 songs, but I did know a few more.
Okay, cool. I deceived them again in 2019 in Bournemouth, and they were outstanding. And I may share a picture on Instagram because I took 2 selfies during it. And the first selfie has a man in his 60s wearing a leather jacket and shades, like the Terminator, and he's like about 10 minutes behind me. And then the second selfie, he's literally like right behind me, as if like he's been sent to assassinate me during the Foals.
You are not liking this enough.
To my 10-track playlist, yeah, I thought I would split it across all of the albums to give them a fair chance. And I started with What Went Down, which is like a big boom. 2015, this is when they brought up the intensity to max factor 10. They turned up all the amps. They went very loud, or at least for the singles. It opens with like some like mysterious organs. Then Yanis goes, "I bury my heart in a hole in the ground." Down. There's like power chord, pumps the air. Foals are here, and I shared, if I don't even saw the Jules Holland
yes, yeah, great stuff.
And I can't tell if it's cringe as fuck or if it's cool. But yeah, Yanis, at the end, he like grabs the microphone and walks to the camera and starts screaming, "When I was a man, yeah." It's okay, I think, at Glastonbury when there's an audience singing back to you, but when he's in a studio, people sat down, they're staring. It's a bit weird. But yeah, it's got great menacing riffs. It's like a big wrecking ball chorus, and yeah, I was like, oh, fuck me. Foals have gone so far away from math piddly rock from 2008. But yeah, it destroys for me. But yeah, it's great to hear live. And listening to it today, I don't know how much you know the song Does Your Mother Know by ABBA.
Very well.
It's got the same bass line.
Okay,
let one check out ABBA Does Your Mother Know. I'm pretty sure we didn't. No, but yeah, so What Went Down, 2015. What are your thoughts?
So this was one that I'd saved in September 2017. Yep. Absolutely no memory. I really liked it from the first listen. I was surprised how much harder it was. Like I knew from My Number that they weren't pure math rock anymore, but I didn't expect it to be this rocky. But to get properly into the song, I really needed a few listens. But actually, by listen 3, I was like, this song's actually pretty epic. And as you said, like the beginning really hooks you in. Buried my heart. And Fran, as I messaged you, I have properly done my homework this time. There are, I think, 8 music videos relating to your playlist. I have watched them all, plus the Jules Holland one, and I have comments on them all. So for this music video, it's the band playing in, I don't know, it's usually they're in some kind of abandoned warehousey kind of place, but also a girl swimming in the sea and people trying to kind of drown her, and a man outside with a dog. And my comments are not 1, not 2, but 3 fit gingers in one band. Yes, please. Because I didn't know what any of the other ones looked like. I liked how there was the mix of the water part mixed with the band playing, and as I'm sure is a theme throughout, like Yanis seems to have a lot of pent up energy. Like even in a music video, you can feel it, which is why it's like, yeah, I think I really need to see them live. And I was very touched by the YouTube comment from @LouiseHearn8088 saying, "My daughter got me into this band, and I'm so glad she did. This has got to be one of the best songs I've ever heard." Oh.
He's a big fan of getting to the audience and jumping off stages.
Yes.
He's described as a hairy bowling ball by his band.
He's an absolute hairy short king, and I'm here for it.
But yeah, I think he had some anger issues. I think he got sacked quite a lot and thrown out of schools growing up. So that's why.
Well, Wikipedia implies it's because his dad being absent, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a story as old as time. The
as old as time.
So I thought let's do a massive shift. So to Cassius 2008. So this is the fiddly guitars high up with the staggering beats. That was their blueprint for that album, and some horrible brass in the background, which I completely forgot about until listening to it. I find his voice is yelping, but that was like kind of the thing back in those days. There's a lot of yelping young men in like the mid noughties indie.
The YYMs.
And yeah, I think he described it as, being about someone who's two-faced, and it's called Cassius because of Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali, and then two different sides. And the video is fucking appalling.
Oh yeah, see, I remember the video.
I literally first saw it today with the hanging hearts and the pills. Like, what the fuck is going on? I put down it's like a high school project. And the hair.
Did you not enjoy his like weird right angle step? Step from one leg to the other.
And they've all got the same fringe, the same like
I love
sort of like indie fringe. Oh dear, it's amazing how much they've changed in 15 years. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of Cassius. Sorry, what are your thoughts?
So I put thank you for including this one because I do really like this. Yeah, I like this straight away when I heard it back in the day. I like the post-punk guitars and the driving bass, and I think the brass works because it until the end it's actually quite subtle. You almost don't, in my mind, don't really notice it, but clearly the brass setting on Fran was
I completely because I just hear him go Cassius is going, Cassius goes around and around and around.
I quite like what I say is his bratty delivery. Like he does sound like that, and I don't mind it. There's a YouTube comment which says this is a tribute to Captain Beefheart, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of those acts where I'm like, yeah, I can't say yes or no.
It's cool to say like Captain Beefheart.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm like, that's it. I'm too on. I'm like, don't. I know it's one of the albums is called Trout Mask Replica, and I think that's it. I think I maybe when I went through my kind of let's listen to 60s and 70s music phase went down that rabbit hole. But anyway, I didn't know that the album was produced by Dave Sitek of TV on the Radio. Big candidate for me for Overrated. I have never listened to a TV on the Radio song that I've liked.
Really? Okay, I've got a couple I like.
Okay.
But did you hear that they remixed it themselves?
I did not see that. Tell me more.
He did a mix and they said it sounded like it was done in the Grand Canyon. So the band themselves had to remix it.
And yeah, the music video, yeah, I really like the hair, and the cardigan is very, very mid-noughties. It just brought me right back. And yeah, the budget on this compared to the previous video is it's hilarious.
But what's weird is like 2008 it probably had more money music than it did 2013. So
yeah, but I mean, it was their first album, right? So I guess it depends how much their record label wanted to bet on them, right? But
yeah, just another indie band. So moving on to, I don't know what order I did this in. So I've moved on to, is it on the Luna?
Yep.
From Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, Part 1, 2019. This is the second single of the double album, and I think the track that I enjoyed the most, they had just lost their bassist, Walter Gervers, who left in 2018. He has now come back again.
I saw that from YouTube comments saying, welcome back,
really?
Walter. Yeah.
Welcome back, Walter. So when I saw them live, I saw Everything's bass player who took over for that tour. And yeah, it's more synthy, it's jerky, it twists, it goes around and around in circles, but it's very, very addictive. And I think I probably played this maybe 20 times on the first time I listened to it. I got addicted. And yeah, for me, it's maybe the best thing on that first album. So I thought I'd share it because it's slightly different than the previous album. It was all balls to the air, rock and roll. This is slightly different.
Yeah, this is definitely new to me and more the sound that I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, this is a very Fran style song, so I'm glad to have that confirmed that you listened to it 20 times. I am slowly, surely understanding your music taste. I like the weird time signature, the guitars offset with the synth sound. I like his falsetto. I like the new synth line that comes in at the end. I guess what both our acts have in common is like love a varied synth sound. And actually every song sounds quite different. I find like you might have little hooks and motifs, but it's not the same one every time. And yeah, another one where I liked it immediately, but I enjoyed it much more on repeated listens because once you understand the time signature and stuff, you can really get into a nice little groove. I enjoyed the lyrics. When I was a latchkey kid on the Luna, a free from guilt born baby boomer, agitator, extricator, won't you come evacuator, infiltrator, hesitator, won't you come emancipator.
Exactly. We've all said that from time to time.
Oh, every day of the week, mate. But even, when it gets repetitive, when he says you had it all, but you didn't stop to think about it, it's very kind of, yeah, you were like, yes, I want to shout this over and over again. So, yeah, I thought this was a great pick.
Thank you. And then I came back to Inhaler, but I had no idea this was so much.
So new to you as well.
So, yeah, no, I knew it, but I discovered it post-release. So this was from Holy Fire. Mercury nominated. They've been Mercury nominated 3 times.
Yeah, I didn't know it that many times. Yeah.
The Bride 3 times. They've never won. And this was produced by my favourites, Flood and Alan Moulder, from the Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails fame and Smashing Pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when I first heard this, I kind of thought of this as maybe Oz on a Symmetry Muse in direction a little bit for me. Happy to hear him changing. He's got a throaty delivery. The chorus sounds a bit like Jane's Addiction.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, yeah.
It's like sexy rock from Oxford, and I believe it won like the Enemy's like best song that year. But yeah, Holy Fire and What Went Down are people's favourite albums so far. So I was watching, they've got like a half-an-hour documentary on YouTube of the making of Holy Fire, which I did in London, and that's when they follow. Some poor camera guy has to follow Yanis to that Greek island and stuff to watch them sit there and write some notes. I was like, I'm not sure this needs to be filmed, but there you go.
Listen, I've seen how many monthly listeners they have. I'm sure some people are going to be into that.
Apparently, whilst making it, he wanted to have a voodoo vibe, so he got some of the interns to go and get some bones from local butchers to hang around the studio.
Okay, that's making me lose respect. That's not good.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. This was a sound that I did not associate at all with Foals. I really enjoyed how the song builds. The guitar sounds matching with that little plastic cowbell sound. And when the riff comes in, I thought, whoa, why don't they do more riffs? I would say that I didn't enjoy it as much as, the song so far. Mm-hmm. So it didn't quite grab me. I was like, okay, they can do rock. I'm interested in this. But yeah, you were talking about how like they've only scratched the surface with America. So I read that this one was the first one to appear on the American singles chart, which doesn't surprise me because it is kind of like, rocky. But have you seen the music video for this?
Is it when there's people doing some like BMX biking and some people doing
like,
some...
Honestly, I was like, is this like they've become old and they're like, what do the kids like? The kids like big tattoos and pop and lock and fireworks and BMX. What the hell? Like, it looks aesthetically very nice. And, the band are playing in like, what, I don't know, it looks like a sort of indoor skate park with lots of graffiti. But it was really like, I don't know, I feel like a PR person with no experience put the visuals together. I enjoyed the comment on the video as well, being like, this is obviously from like ages ago, from 8 years ago, saying, I really appreciate you guys not using Vivo. Thanks for not joining that cartel.
I saw that.
And I was like, what? And did you click in on the responses to be like, what do you mean? So apparently it's because I think Vivo would often, when they'd host music videos, censor stuff. And I guess, there's some boobs and swearing in this song. So I was just like, it's, with the foresight, I'm like, what cartel of Vivo? Like, I barely understood what it was in the first place.
Probably using an iPhone whilst you wrote that comment.
Yeah.
So moving on to Spanish Sahara in 2010's Total Life Forever. And like I said, I literally completely forgot about this until like 2015 in the computer game Life is Strange. If you go onto the comments, you may have noticed that it's all about that computer game.
I had to look it up. I was like, what is this? Yeah.
It works great in the computer game. I mean, it's quite brave following your math rock album to have a single which is like 7 minutes long and doesn't really kick in until like 4 minutes 23. But it's got swirling synths, great guitar lines, great builds. yeah, it's like a magnificent, horror soundtrack. It's got that euphoric end. The girl's in my head, and it won the best track 2010 with The Enemy. But the video is a bit strange. It's him crying, then like dragging is it a carcass of meat and then burning it? I don't really know what's happening. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic track, and it's a massive step away from their debut album.
I didn't know this song. I didn't know it had this. Again, because 2010, I really wasn't tapping in so much to the I was going to say the savoir-faire. That's not what I mean at all. Like
the zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist. I was like, raison d'être. What is it? Thank you, Fran. Not French, German. Thank you. And yeah, because obviously we mentioned it in the Octomonkeys Monkeys episode, I was like, okay, get an opportunity to listen to it. So I was like, okay, we're slowing down a bit, but I have a feeling it's going to build. And until it started building, I really wasn't very interested. And then I was like, aha, it's building. But then it slows down again. Okay. Building. And actually, I just didn't get the release I was hoping to from this song. I don't think with a lot of their other songs that kind of go through different energetic phases, you have the patience. Well, I have the patience for it, and I find that it pays off. With this song, I like. So far, it's my least favorite on the list, and I've written that I think my heart is too icy, like in the music video. To
maybe
this.
You had to have just saved your girlfriend in Life is Strange from death to understand the trauma.
The trauma.
And I think that's why I dismissed that, because I think I might have heard it, and because it takes such a long time to get in, I never probably gave it the chance. That's
it. I don't mind it taking a while to get in, but the payoff isn't good for me.
No, okay.
But I enjoyed reading about the album, which I didn't realise was produced by Luke Smith, aka the guitarist and vocalist of Claw. Did you know that?
Yes, another forgotten indie band.
Yeah, the great album. Like, not only the big song, I think it's a great album, the Claw album. And there is a link to Tom Veck, because there is a Claw remix of Nothing But Green Lights. So there we go.
Yeah, that Tom Veck fellow we're talking about, he must have been big in that indie scene, because he's been linked to so many artists.
Yes and no, but I think his control freakery might be what let him down. Is a bit my theory in the popularity stakes anyway. Going back to the music video, here are some YouTube comments that I enjoyed. The Turd Bugler said this is Depression the song, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I had my mental health issues are other ones, so maybe that's why I didn't get it. And my personal favorite from Julien Lecomte, Monsieur Seat: if this is not played at my funeral, I'm not going.
You heard it first.
Over underrated.
So, Mountains at the Gate. What went down? And you had not heard this before?
I had not heard this before. This was new to me.
So this was the other big single from that album. And I remember I was working for HTC, and I was having a crap time. And I remember I put this album on my lunch break, and it cheers me up.
Oh.
So I thought, because I think I played Is What Went Down, followed by this, and I thought, Hanky Foals.
Life is good again.
This is what I need, just escaping from angry Android customers. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit more straightforward in rock. It's got some lovely arpeggio guitars burning around, catchy lyric, and it's got this payoff like guitar for around 2.5 minutes. And in fact, a lot of Foals songs do have this formula. Around 2.5 minutes, they suddenly punch it in with like a new like direction and a big climax. It works for me. I when I saw it live, I remember getting the hairs back in my arms, and the music video is I discovered today, not seen it before.
And that it can move.
Video.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
So watch it on your phone, guys. Yeah, watch it on your phone. There's so many people saying, I thought this was the worst music video ever until I moved my phone and discovered it's 360. So that's exciting for you tech heads out there. Yeah, and it's featured in FIFA 2016 apparently. But yeah, I like a bit of Mountains at the Gate. Are you a big fan of having a mountain at the gate?
Well, one of my favourite YouTube comments was from Nmamu1420. I hate it when I look over my gates and see that damn mountain again. I do think, unfortunately, that is what I felt about the song. I immediately, when it started, I was like, "Ooh, I'm not feeling this." I wanted to have patience, and there's definitely a lot of elements that I normally like. The bass line, the clean and crisp drums. I was trying to think, why don't I like it? When the gut punch comes in, it goes a bit gospel-y, which I don't think really works with this song. And it's a bit Florence and the Machine-y, which, again, another candidate for me for overrated. So, yeah, I mean, the music video saved it for me because, this was definitely not one of my favourites, unfortunately.
Interesting. I thought you'd like it. I thought you like it hard, but I won't say
Hard.
that. Okay, so I just, because there's so many songs on those double albums, I just grabbed a track. I chose "Dreaming of" from Part 2 as a taster of what other stuff they have. This to me is pretty much obvious Foals. It's a bit more sweeter vocals, but it's a nice mix of, like, I guess, funk, dance, and guitars, but it's nothing amazing. And I think that is what the album for me was like. I literally can't remember more than 3 songs across 2 albums, which isn't a great sign. And although random, this was their first UK #1, Part 2.
Really?
But yeah, but like
Wow.
even the singles, it's just like, is it The Runner and Black Ball? I literally can't even remember how they go.
Hadn't even heard them as songs before. That's how out of the loop I am.
It's weird that a Part 2 of a double album would succeed over the first one, but there we go. So yeah, what are your thoughts on "Dreaming of"?
So it's a woozy one to begin with. Guess shouldn't be a surprise with a song called "Dreaming of." When the vocal harmonies kicked in, I spent a good 5 minutes being like, what band does this remind me of? What does this... I literally had to like pause the song and like sing the song in my head. It really reminds me of "Two Receivers" by Klaxons. You know, the first song from the Myths of the Near Future.
I can't remember.
Again, go and listen to it. So I was like, another, band from back in the day. I liked this. I like this, let's say, more than "Mountain at My Gates."
Okay.
And I got into it more on re-listens, but I think this song, on my first 3 listens, it kind of feels like several songs badly gelled into one. And I feel like the Foals are usually a bit better at kind of making all those, dissolute elements come together. With this one, I was like, it feels a bit all over the place. Here, there's a misleading time signature, but I don't think it works as well as on the Luna, for example.
Yeah, it misses like some magic. I just thought I'd choose an album track just rather than me sing all of the singles. But it's not. It's not
all right.
Great.
It's all right.
And speaking of things that aren't great, moving on to 2 AM. This is "Life Is Yours" from 2022, their latest album, and we're down to a trio because Edwin, the keyboard player, had left by now to do his masters in economics and also out of guilt for global warming.
Really? For he didn't want to tour?
He said when he was doing 2019, he kept calculating all the flights and all the people coming to the gigs, and he couldn't work out for him how to do it. So he thought, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I know. Radiohead, Coldplay, Massive Attack are trying, but it's difficult. Yeah.
Strangely, the keyboard player left, and this is probably the most electronic album. There's a really good documentary. It's called "Rip It Up." It's on Amazon from that 2019 tour, and during it, they keep mentioning how it's getting harder for rock bands to tour to make money. It's and how sad it is for new guitar bands to get any play. They mentioned Japan, and like in 2010 in Japan, everyone was going crazy for any British indie band, and now barely any British bands can even tour in Japan.
Really?
Yes, because it's all K-pop and J-pop.
Well, yeah, of course, which is, in the case of J-pop, a language they understand better than English, right? So
He said there's barely any new bands from the last 10 years who play in Japan.
that's so interesting because there's been the statistics that have come up from Spotify saying like the English isn't the most dominant language anymore of popular music. Like Portuguese, Korean, Japanese, like people are much more willing to listen to songs in those languages even if they don't speak those languages. But I guess it's been the reverse in maybe Japan and Korea, where there's so much of it now that you don't have to bother with other countries.
So I wonder, with all that comes to mind, why this album is more like, I would dare to say, 1975 territory. It's all electro disco. It's like, are they trying to change the sound so they can still tour? And I when I first heard it, I thought, oh shit. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll give it another go. So I've listened to the album yesterday, and I listened to the singles today, and yeah, it's quite horrible. It's got a quite interesting keyboard line, but there's nothing more. I can just imagine someone playing records in a cocktail bar. It's just really, and like the only saving grace is that the music video was filmed in Kiev, literally a month before Russia invaded. So at least something decent was, because the music video was quite nice. What's the music video from them doing?
I did watch the music video. Yeah,
that's quite interesting. But and then they destroy. Actually, they then destroy the video. So,
that's what I was thinking. Like,
that's like Russia. Anyway, politics aside, it's not for me. And the album strangely got decent reviews, but yeah, for me it's
surprised.
pretty shit.
I thought you would like this song because of the Cynthia sound. Like, I don't know, I preferred this, for example, to Mountain at My Gates. Although I have my criticisms too. I really don't like his vocals. They sound compressed. I've put question mark. Like, compare it to the sound of Cassius. This sounds like a totally different person. And that oh god, that was awful. Oh god, I can't do it. The guitar motif is a little bit annoying. But I've written, this is a bit too pop for me, where I expect some angularity. But it was one of the ones I was listening to just before coming here. I don't hate it, but it's just not so much for me. I read though that it was produced by Dan Carey, who has done a lot of stuff I like, and John Hill, who I'd never heard of. And then you go and look at his credits, and it's like so many pop, rock, and hip hop, like Wu-Tang and Eminem, but also Zara Larsson and Demi Lovato, and like that's quite an interesting producer. But yeah, maybe on purpose get a more commercial.
Yeah, it does sound like a band desperately trying to find something new.
Producer in, but yeah, the music video, yeah, that is really funny that you say that wasn't funny, not haha, because what I felt about the music video, I was like, this is a music video from 2022, but this could have been filmed in the mid-noughties. This could have been an early Metronomy music video. It reminds me of like Radio Ladio, but a little bit slicker. But I've written, the destruction at the end feels very of these times where it's like, yeah, you have this very pretty thing, but then the pretty thing cannot stay. So yeah, that's very ironic, what you tell me. And the most British YouTube comment from Sega Studio was, damn, this track is more refreshing than a cold pint of beer on a Friday afternoon in the sun.
It really is. Are you a fan of a band who just have like the one guy who stands out? Because also Yanis, I mean, if you go on Wikipedia, he's the only person you can highlight.
Well, again, I did not know there were fit gingers, and I'm very sad about this. Because Yanis is not my type. Like, I do prefer a ginger or a blonde. So I was like, please, everyone's welcome, but please make space for the gingers.
Well, Jack Bevan, he's a really good drummer.
The drumming was great.
Yeah. But of course, Yanis a lot of times, like in this one, is just the sole member of the band in the music video.
He's very charismatic. He's very charismatic, and you tell he's like into the acting and into the playing whatever role. I mean, especially the next song that you've picked. Yeah,
but that you know what? So next song is Bad Habits, and that music video was hard to find for some strange reason because it's probably not the biggest budget. Yeah, I had to. I typed in Bad Habits Foals. I had to keep scrolling down about 10 times so I could find it. Yeah, I don't know why.
In Northern Europe,
that.
Belgium not so hard to find.
The Alex Metric remix is the first hit. Anyway, so Bad Habits was one song that I knew in 2013, and it made my best for 2013. I don't know why then I didn't bother listening to the rest of the album, but I instantly loved the pitter-patter percussion, the bubbling bass, it just flows just naturally. Yanis' vocal melodies are beautiful. I love how it climbs into the chorus. It's got like no edges, but it just soothes me. And the music video, as I mentioned, is Yanis walking around in the desert after a naked ginger lady.
Ginger lady. See, ginger ladies too.
She's wearing a high sun factor.
Oh my god, I wrote exactly the same comment. Exactly. I was like, "Ooh, sensitive skin if it's a real desert." And then there's some giant sand hands trying to capture Yanis, who does some acting for you, some action. But yeah, I just think it's it's quite a beautiful indie track, and I don't really hear often, so I thought I'd pass on to you and see if you remember Bad Habits from 2013. I do not. I guess 2013 was the year I moved to Brussels, so it's a bit of a transition year for me as well. Right at the beginning, before the vocals come in, the percussion sounds almost Nine Inch Nails like, and I was like, oh, is it going in that direction? And it's like, oh, absolutely not. I again feel conflicted with this song. I like the verses a lot more than the chorus, but the guitar backing annoys me a little bit, and the chorus is a bit too anthemic for me. Also, the lyrics are emo as hell. Like when you said that because this is the one from the video game, the lyrics are, "'Cause I'm a bad habit, one you cannot shake, and I hope that I change. Don't follow me, because if I go where the flowers grow into the deep below, oh, would you forget me now? Oh, come!" Like, I wanted to hit Yanis on his pretty head, on his lovely hair. Oh, that really. And then reading about this computer game, I was like, how does this fit into a computer game? I'm very confused. But,
well, I guess he would have been still young. He's like, I think it was 1985. He's not even 40 yet, Mr. Yanis. But I also, for some reason, said I think this would work with a steel drum version. Maybe they can perform on Blue Peter.
Ooh,
But I'm not
I
sure
love a
how
steel
many
drum
people...
Well, you haven't seen Anatomy before, have you?
No.
Well,
Oh, no, yeah, I have, yes, I have.
Yeah,
seen that.
so
Yes.
I've actually been listening to now, of my own volition, the steel drum version of PIMP, and I mean, like, why not? I think let's bring steel drums back into the mainstream again.
Goodbye to our bad habits, and then off to our final track, which is also how they end their live shows. This is Two Steps Twice on the debut album, Antidote. Fun fact: I don't like the song, which is perfect for me because I know it ends the gig. It means I get to get out early. Thank you. So yeah, it's got reason it's the last song because it has like that big like I put down wombat style angular chorus.
What an insult!
It is though. It's wombat, isn't it? 2 steps, 1 step. Yeah. And it's got like a pa bit in the middle for everyone to join in with. But yeah, this just annoys me instantly, and I don't know why. I keep thinking you've got some massive like riffs now. You could change the final track, but yeah, even how many years, like 12 years later, 12, 14 years later, still ending with this annoying indie song from 2008. But are you a fan of Two Steps Twice?
I am indeed a fan, of course.
No, another one.
I love the math rock guitars and the computer bleep bloops backed up by that bass. Love the overlapping harmonies, how it takes a left turn and suddenly there's guitars and fall to the floor drums. And then it kind of goes into a sort of Cassius Part 2 bit at the end, which I quite enjoyed. And yeah, this is one where obviously there wasn't a music video, so I went to look at them playing it live at Reading 2016. The drummer is wearing a Louis Theroux t-shirt, which I enjoyed. They also did that thing as well where like 2 other members of the band joined the drummer to play on the drums kind of harder. And actually almost that version almost makes it sound like Holy Fire era music because they bring on more scuzzy guitars. So yeah, I enjoyed remembering it, and I enjoyed also the live version. It sounds very different to what's on the record, and I enjoyed both. So again, thank you for I thought this was a great way to end the playlist. I'm not annoyed at all.
Well, alas, I didn't get to hear the 2019 version because I was already out the door. Maybe it's my fault.
And also, yeah, the Reading 2016 version is 9 minutes long, so don't bother. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that is the end of my playlist. So I will give you some quick statistics for our friends from the Foals. They have had 6 top 3 UK albums.
Whoa. Okay.
Interesting.
Out of 7.
Total Life Forever was the worst, but it's got to number 8. And they haven't had a lower score than 74 out of 100 on Metacritic.
Wow.
And obviously 3 Mercury Prize nominations and a 3.4 average on Spotify. So, with those statistics at hand, are they overrated, Babs?
This was a very difficult one because it was one where, once again, well done, Fran, I didn't hate a single song on the playlist. There was a lot to enjoy. But I think the amount of Mercury Prize nominations, the fact that they have 3.4 million monthly listeners on Spotify, which is enormous, I am happy for them. Like, I'm happy for them that they have kind of managed to stay together. They've somehow, like, evolved their sound, but also a little bit stayed the same. Despite that, slightly reluctantly, I think I'm going to say that they're overrated, just because those numbers are enormous. And again, it's kind of why this band over other bands that I think are a bit more consistent, as you say as well, right? Like, I mean, their album's a bit better than me. I do wonder, because what's funny is, I think some of the bands that we've discussed as underrated, it's like, oh, actually it takes a while to get into it. And I found this with Foals songs, like, even sometimes when I liked it on the first round or two, I needed more listens to get into it. So I would have thought that the world would be the same, but apparently not. So, I'm happy for Yanis and the boys, but I still don't quite understand how they are so big, despite having, yes, clearly some more great tunes than I realised. How about you?
Well, I think that, like, from that era, the bands who are still doing big guns haven't really done much experimental music. Like, I guess, like, bands like the Kaiser Chiefs.
Previously discussed.
Well, I guess the Art of Monk style, but yeah, I mean,
previously discussed.
I think they do, like, for a band, they do try and push things.
Definitely.
Like, they are bands who do love making music, and I think Yanis is a great performer. So I think as a live act, they have a lot of a lot of great things about around the band. I just think, maybe consistency. Or maybe they haven't done a perfect album. I find them. No, I twice wrote them off. I've written them off again now with the last album. I'm hoping that now with Walter coming back, they may get rid of that disco touch. But so there's a lot of things they've got going for them. So I would say they're not overrated. I would say they're rated because they have given me some great moments of my life. So yeah, I'm surprised that they're still able to headline festivals after.
I think they seem like
years.
Great headliners. I feel like it's one of those again where I'm sure if I saw them live, my opinion would change actually.
Yeah. But maybe wait till they bring out a better album to what.
I feel like Belgium would be I think because I just kind of ignore them a little bit.
They do okay in Belgium. They're looking at stats. I think they do okay in Belgium.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is that is an appreciated sound here for sure. But yeah, let's see if I get an opportunity. I still haven't picked a festival to go to this summer, so let's see.
They still said that they're not going to quit until they've written their perfect album. So
good luck to them.
Good luck, guys.
I wish them well.
That's the end of part 1.
Hey, podcast lovers! Now available, a new podcast experience featuring exclusive miniseries like Food Faves, and all new series that takes a fun look at everyone's real first true love, food. Milky Way Marvels, a lighthearted astronomy series where we explore the fascinating wonders of our galaxy. Pop culture icons, an entertaining, nostalgic look back at various nouns in popular culture. Plus more. Relax, enjoy, listen, laugh, and maybe even learn. Podcast, presented by Sonic Embassy. Now streaming everywhere you listen.
Access quick links to your favorite places to listen now at solo.to/Sonic Embassy.
Underrated.
So finally, you get to do Mr. Thomas Veck.
Thomas Timothy Vernon Kell, aka Tom Veck. Yes, so I have been a big fan for a while, although I danced to his music before knowing who he was. I knew I Ain't Saying My Goodbyes and Nothing But Green Lights from the debut album at the time, and I would dance to them very specifically in the side room of the Collie nightclub in Coventry when I was at university. And I was trying to figure out, when did I actually properly get into him? Actually, it probably wasn't until the second album was released in 2011, because when I was looking back at the times I'd seen him live, the first one was in 2012. So obviously I knew and liked him enough to do that. And probably at the time the music press was like, oh my God, do you remember the guy who disappeared for 6 years? He's back. And that helped. And then, I went to listen to We Have Sound for the first time, and I really loved Leisure Seizure. I think that's my favourite album of his when it came out. But I think there are other reasons why I quite like him and why I think he's an interesting character to discuss. I think because he is quite mysterious. He is someone who, until recently, had really very little, almost no social media presence. And when he disappeared between the first and the second album, he really disappeared. You saw no interviews, absolutely nothing. So there's definitely an element of every now and again I'd be oh, Tom Veck, let's go and listen to some B-sides and see if someone's put a new interview on there. So that's definitely part of the kind of intrigue for me. Musically, he is dance punk. He talks so often about his influences being 90s rock and synth music. I think he marries both very well. And it's interesting that on his albums, it's always him playing all the instruments, but when he's touring, he tours with a live band. And I mentioned up the top that, I wonder if this kind of control freakery is one of the reasons why he hasn't made it bigger. Not only because, if you're doing everything yourself, you don't have as much input, even though, there's always, a mixer and someone else on the tracks. And every now and again, there is a big producer or two. But I'm if you're so insular, do you have your crew kind of putting out the feelers about you? He also hasn't toured very much. He put out an album in 2014. He toured in 2014 and 2015. And I saw him for the We Have Sound 10-year anniversary tour, which was great. That was the best gig of his that I saw because he played that album in full and then, other tracks. And then I travelled to London specifically in 2022 to go and see him at Lafayette. And that was his first gig in 6 years. And it was it was really amazing because that was really a greatest hits show, and you could tell that he was kind of whoa, I don't think he was expecting kind of the level of the enthusiasm of the crowd. But yeah, I'm just like, what are you doing in your little hole, Tom Beck? Come out and play. I mean, now he's much more on social media. He was on 22 Grand Pod, which was really interesting. I also literally went to listen to him talk on like an audio as in about audio podcast that was so techie, but I was like, it's Tom Beck. I will go and listen to him. I would say that for me, yeah, Leisure Seizure, the second album for me is his best album, the most perfect album. Maybe with his other albums, they're not as perfect, but the songs that I like, I really, really like. But yeah, on this playlist, I've put not one, not two, but 3 B-sides / non-singles, because I think he's also someone where I'm like, again, Tom, who is making these decisions on like what to put in an album, what to put out? Because I can't believe that some of the tracks that I've put on haven't been singles as other people on the internet. We obviously discussed Survive by him in 2020 for the best of 2020. And you said at the time I went to re-listen, and that is always the fear that I have when I'm introducing someone to Tom Beck of like, ooh, his voice, ooh, it's a little bit annoying. So I'm kind of expecting that. I'm kind of preparing for that. But coming into this, what did you think about Tom Beck?
I remember his debut album, and my brother was a big fan of it and would play it quite often. But I literally forgot about him until I started speaking to you. You're the first person to ever mention him. So I had literally. So I know I think the 2 songs from the debut album you put on the playlist. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I listened to that 22 Grand Job, and you got your question read out, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, you did. You know me. You know my online identity.
But yeah, I guess. I mean, he basically says that, doesn't he? That he kind of prefers being a graphic designer, really.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why he vanishes, because he makes money from graphic design. Like, having a quick look, like, I couldn't believe he hasn't even had a top 70 album in the UK.
Seriously?
This debut album, I got stats here. His debut album got to 73, mm-hmm. and Leisure Seizure 79.
Wow, it did worse. Wow.
It was worse, and that's probably why he then has self-produced the last 2 albums. So I mean, he couldn't have made a penny. So I guess that's why he wasn't relying on music, because he's like, well, I'll do it when I can be bothered, kind of thing. And he sort of says that, doesn't he? He's like, he kind of liked people missing him, because he's like, well, I'm not a tap you can turn on.
It's a good move, I think, for mystery and intrigue. And if if it's not your main income, like, I think even when he released his first album, he was pursuing the graphic design degree, and I think he's done all his own album artwork, and he's also done a music player called Sleeve Note that showcases the album art a bit more prominently. And now he has this new website as well that I can't remember, because he's got a new song out just in the last few weeks. Which is okay. I was like, ooh. Sometimes with Tom Beck it takes me a while, but it's on a website where firstly you can pay, I think, with cryptocurrency, which I'm just like, but I think it's this concept where you pay $10 for a song, and I think it's kind of like, if you ask some people to do it, they will do it. So you can see, like, when you go on the song, at least when I went yesterday, it's like 6 or 7 people have paid for this song, and you can listen to it on the website. I don't know if it's unlimited or not. But yeah, I always find it interesting, all these alternatives to see musicians earning money. So yeah, I think he's definitely more than a musician. He's a designer, he's an entrepreneur. Like, in his 4th album, he talks a lot about his family. So yeah, I think there's a lot more strings to his bow.
And also, I saw like a documentary on YouTube, and he even made his own t-shirt range in 2011. So yeah, he does a lot. So I guess, he's not relying on music. So you should be happy that he's made, what is it, 4 albums? Yeah. And he's touring this year. But that's why I was really surprised he did so bad in the charts, because like he was on like the OC, and I remember his name was flying around on like Enemy at the time. So yeah, I guess
and
people
it's, like you say, it's not his song, it is him. Like, literally, Misha Barton is watching him live, and some guy who I can't remember walks in. Yeah, I watched it this morning. I was like, I don't remember this. But I remember, again, so he is part of one of my favourite short-lived supergroups with Olga Bell called No Thank You. And they did 3 excellent songs, one of which is like only available on SoundCloud and YouTube. One of those where I'm like, please, like, I should rip this off in case it gets removed offline. And I remember him talking about meeting her, and he said something like, it was when I was in the US, and like the only time I was using MySpace for social reasons. Like, I think it must have been a MySpace party or some mutual friend, and that's how they met, and that's how that collaboration happened. And even I think he thanks her on his 3rd album. So yeah, I just get this feeling that he's just like this nerdy guy who he made music for years in his parents' garage, and and like shouts out his parents' garage, I think, in the first or second album as well. So he intrigues me, and I think his music can be very addictive.
And he's a drummer first, isn't he? He says.
But he normally plays bass live. That's
okay.
That's his thing. Yeah.
Apart from he said that one tour in America where he had Sack as drummer.
Oh, I don't know about this. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's on the 22 Grand Pod thing.
Oh, I haven't listened to it recently. Yeah.
He got rushed out to do a tour, so he just got basically hired like the first guitar player and drummer he knew in London, but without like really getting used to them. Then turns out that the drummer would have a fight with like the guitar player, then somebody else basically had to sack his drummer halfway through the tour.
The story, yeah.
And then they got asked to do it again. Goes, "Nah, I'm all right." It was very Tom Beck, I guess.
Well, yeah, and the Tom Vecchiest thing of all is because, I'm coming to England soon, and I was thinking of going on some mad dash to Southampton to see him. But it turns out I've just seen it is him and the Southampton one. It's literally like a sit-down concert, and I'm like, no. I'm not.
Is
I'm
that
not
Heartbreakers? That's basically a small pub.
Which would be amazing for the atmosphere, but I'm like, but not
Sat down.
Not sat down. Like, and I love you, Tom Beck. But I think you work best with a band, because I've heard, like, he did a Radio X, like, acoustic session, I think, in lockdown. I remember when I was in Limerick for my friend's wedding, like, tuning in, like, actually going to the app and tuning in live to listen to it, and I wasn't that impressed either. So I think Tom Beck is at his best, like, on record or with a live band.
So, should we start the playlist?
Let's do it. So, my first pick is Hold Your Hand, and the reason I picked this first is because it's the first track of his second album. I hoped it would be a good introduction to the playlist. I really like the synth sound and the unexpected opening line of "I'm a lost cowboy looking for the truth."
Sounds like a Bon Jovi lyric. I'm a lost cowboy.
But it's so amazing. I'm a lost cowboy looking for the truth. What do I like? Yeah, it was really difficult with Tom Beck to be like, I really like this song, is basically my comments for most of it. So I like what the drums are doing throughout to support it, because they come in and out. I like how the chorus comes in with 3 different guitars. I like the unexpected breakdown and that bass guitar unexpected introduction. And he goes from saying "hold your hand" in a very cool, calm, chill way. Then it builds to the "hold your hand." Oh, that was still awful, I'm sorry. And how he harmonizes with himself. So, yeah. Did you want to hold his hand?
I will say this a lot. I think that Tom Beck is great at music production.
Ah, okay. You don't like his voice.
I like his choices of samples and bass downs. His voice isn't great, but I like a lot of music that hasn't got amazing vocalists. My problem I have is that he has a similar formula of every song, when the chorus is just him repeating one line again and again and again.
I'm going to come back to that.
And I sometimes like to have a bit of a change between the verse and the chorus, and that doesn't really happen. So this I put down Death from Above, dirty bass.
Oh, yeah.
A Police choppy guitar, which I think could also be Gang of Four. But the chorus is a bit irritating, and it does feel like I'm being hit over the head after a while, until that light relief around 2.5 minutes as like a new guitar line comes in, thank God. So that's my... So I like a lot of these things, I like the elements, but maybe if you had a singer or someone who could do like a different vocal melody, maybe that could help.
I love I don't even know what to call it, like, almost like grumpy old man vocals. It's almost like he doesn't give a shit. And I know that's probably not how he's delivering it, but and when he goes, at the end, I don't know, I find it quite charming.
Think that he puts on a voice, because obviously hearing him speak, it's very, very different. His
he's from London.
Vocal.
He's from London, and that almost sounds French, right? I mean, I started doing that when I moved to French-speaking countries, because even some of the people who I hang out with do that in English, and then I started doing it, and my friends in England took the piss out of me.
But I think it says that 22 Grand Job interview. He says, like, I really didn't know, looking back, that people like David Bowie had so many people collaborating, and he thinks that maybe because it was his name, he kind of thought, I have to do everything because it's me.
Yeah.
And he kind of regrets that. He thinks, maybe I should.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I do think, like, he shot himself in the foot. For me, not on the vocals, but I think on the I guess variety of elements, and like I said, kind of having a crew around him to support him more, because I feel like every time I've seen him, it's been a different live band with him. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but I will say though that I didn't realise this because I have my 4 Tom Vec albums here. Here we go, 4 CDs. And I was like, let me actually, take the time to read the sleeve notes for each one. So I've done that. So I have a few little facts for each one. So for this album, for Leisure Seizure, I did not realise that this album was produced by Liam Howe of Sneaker Pimps. He's back.
Well, he mentions them. He mentions how he loves Sneaker Pimps, and I thought, oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh. And Dan Carey did additional production on a song that I haven't included called On a Plate, but that's one of my favourite songs from the album as well. So I was like, oh, no wonder I like it so much. And he's put in it a random little fact. The CD jewel case was developed in 1981 by British designer Peter Doodson while working for the Dutch electronics company Philips, inventors of the compact disc. And the last line he has is, thanks for buying music.
And do you know why he did that?
Why?
Because in the 90s, he said his favourite hobby was looking at CD inlays, and he used to invent his own fake ones growing up, so that's why he's giving a lot of attention to his inlays, because he loved it.
See, I'm glad you've done the research. I mean, I think for that 22 Grand Job podcast, I thought it was only coming out on Patreon, so I joined their Patreon for a month to listen to it as quickly as possible, and then didn't bother because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have enough to say. I don't need to listen. So I'm glad that you're kind of backing me up here on what I can't remember. So my next pick is I Ain't Saying My Goodbyes from We Have Sound. I picked this not because it was one of my favourites, but I thought let's pick one that's more well known, and I imagine that you might have remembered this from the time, and you do. Also because I guess so many of the songs are so much synthier, whereas this is a much more classic guitar-led song, even though I quite like how ethereal it somehow still feels, especially his vocals, which have this kind of echo sound. I quite enjoyed that. Love the bass line, love the rhythm guitar hook, the do-do, and the effect on the drums. And I remember for years and years and years not knowing what he's saying at the beginning of the chorus, the don't get upset. I was like, no idea. And finally, I love the post-punk scuzz disco ending and how he changes the intonation slightly of the don't get upset, where it's on like a different rhythm and a different note. What do you think?
So yeah, I think for me this is his best song. It reminds me of Rapture, and I think he was influenced by Rapture. I think he says it's the first time he realised he could have a disco beat with a
dance punk, baby.
Yeah,
dance punk.
Yeah, it's got that sort of like off-tune guitar almost throughout. And yeah, it's great to dance to. And the chorus, he does slightly change it, so it's not the same version each time. So maybe that's why it's not as annoying. So yeah, I remember this instantly. I probably haven't heard it since 2005. So thank you for reminding me. But yeah, this was the killer track on the playlist for me.
Did you watch the music video for this?
I did, with his bloody nose. A lot of I didn't realise he was a heartthrob.
Oh, he was fucking hot. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention he's fucking hot.
But people are saying it more now. I was like, with his like
no. Long hair, slightly
Okay.
nerdy. Tom Vec is my personal favorite. It's a bit like Calvin Harris. I'm like, fuck the new Calvin Harris. Old geeky one is better. Long hair, nerdy. Tom Vec is yeah. But also, did you see how it had the heart motifs a bit like Foals? I was like, what was going on in the mid-noughties? And I have to say, I hadn't seen that one in a while. And the only thing I could remember was the scary owl, which really did scare the shit out of me. And I think there was a YouTube comment was like, go to this time to have an epic stare-off with an owl.
That is something which is quite shocking for YouTube, is that it's hard to find out who directed the videos.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's why I like, that's hard to do it, but Spotify now has the credits on all the songs, which is useful. And like, I don't know why YouTube...
But some, like with Foals, I remember because the guy who did the 360 video and the desert one was called Nabil, and it's like Nabil in like big letters.
Oh, okay.
And with one of the upcoming videos, it does say also in the description who the director is. But actually, I think one of the last things I was doing was that for one of my favorite video of his, I was trying to find out who the director was, and then I just couldn't find it. But so album sleeve notes time. This is the one that says in memory of PVK Studios brackets our garage. So
okay.
And this one, the debut album, it just says written and performed by Tom Vec. The only credits are for mastering and publishing.
So moving on to Pushing Your Luck 2014.
Yes, we are.
Is this a good album?
This is a good album.
It's Luck, yeah.
It's called Luck, although I do prefer the previous two to this one. I think this is a good album, but it does have a few songs that I skip compared to the other ones. I put this one I think because I thought it might be one that you liked. I don't know if you watched the music video for this one.
I did.
I quite enjoy with this one how the music video has this slot machine music that makes the song sound completely different, yet I think it fits in quite well. And I think, correct me, fans of Tom Vec, if I'm wrong, but that you could go on his website. You know how the album is like him with 4 letters for the eyes, nose, and mouth? You could go and kind of customize the t-shirt with whatever letters you wanted, which I thought was quite smart. I have a t-shirt, which is a black t-shirt, and it just has a cloud, like a thinking cloud saying Garage Rock. That was that's the only Tom Vec merch that I have, because I'm not a huge fan of the Tom Vec one. I would get more, but I just don't think it suits me as much.
So interesting you mentioned Calvin Harris, because I put in the video he looks like he's dressed as Calvin Harris.
Yeah,
with that white t-shirt and shades.
The man loves a t-shirt. He loves a plain t-shirt, or just a plain top in general. But yeah, I mean, I picked this also because obviously I do like the song. I think I love the 2 main synth sounds at the beginning. I feel like it sounds like there's one that's chasing you, that's kind of in the background, and one that's kind of pinning you down. I think it's some of his best self-harmonizing. I feel like if you don't like his voice, this is maybe the one song where it isn't as much of an issue, perhaps, I hope. And there's even an unexpected guitar solo. Did you want to play on this Tom Vec slot machine or call Gamblers Anonymous?
So I said, not only does he look like Calvin Harris, this could be a Calvin Harris song from 2008.
Oh my god!
Do you think it could be the first album? It's got a similar vibe,
It's a bit too guitar-y, I think, for Calvin Harris.
So yeah, so it's loopy, repetitive chorus line.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the synths. I don't adore the song, unfortunately.
It's okay.
But
I'm prepared.
nice t-shirts though. It's perfectly fine.
It's perfect.
But the next track, I prefer.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. So we are on to the first How the Fuck Is This a B-Side song? This is One Horse Race, which was the B-side to Nothing But Green Lights and used in Grand Theft Auto 4. And I remember, like, from the moment I discovered it, that's what all the YouTube comments were about. I think this is one of the best B-sides of all time for me as well. There's a
Dun, dun, dun.
there's a bassline swagger. Like, it's so simple, the bassline, but it's such a good core for everything else to be built around. Again, I like how his voice is almost fighting with the drum and the bass. It's like they're all fighting in a competition. I don't know what Mortified for 45 means, but I'm in. And by the time he goes, one horse, I'm like, right, excellent. And, you know, you might think that there's that slight dip when the bass line goes on, there's that instrumental, which is quite simple, and the bass is just literally playing one line. But then when he comes back with, this is not a test of faith, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is some religious shit, who knows? But yeah, lovely stuff. Similar groovy rhythm to some of the Foals songs that I enjoyed. And yeah, once again, cannot believe this is a B-side.
Because I knew this song as well, because I did play Grand Theft Auto, I did think, oh, this must have been a famous track. But yeah, it's dance punk. Yeah, it's got one of the less annoying vocals. Well, hopefully it gave him some cash because his album wasn't selling well. Hopefully the Grand Theft Auto bucks are getting him through.
I really hope so.
Because people keep mentioning it again and again.
Honestly,
again, so,
yeah.
Yeah.
So we are going back to the debut for CC, You Set the Fire in Me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a real soft spot for this song. I just think it's a very pretty love song. Very simple lyrics. I don't know if you've seen the music video, but there's a little plushy animal drumming along with him, and he's looking all fit in his army jacket. I really don't have much more to say besides that, but well, apart from that, I really like the bass line. There's this kind of, again, this is where I go with the synth harmonica, but it's a kind of, I guess, like, yeah, a nice keyboard sound. And I think it's very atmospheric. Again, for me, it's repetitive, but I like it. And I've always wondered who CC was.
Well, he will not say, but it's definitely as a girl, he said. But yeah, I put down an early 90s hip hop beat. It's mainly beat and vocals, really. With that, apart from that dirty horn, it's has maybe some Aphex Twin kind of touches around. Yeah, enjoyed the video of him drumming with some puppets. Did you even notice that his drum also has little legs as well? Yeah, nice. Yeah. It's there. It's for 2005. It's quite a well-made video for a guy. It was so yeah. Am I a fan of it? It's a song that I remember instantly. I don't remember seeing the video, so I don't know how I heard it, unless my brother was playing it along. I mean, it is basically a chorus for 2 minutes. Really, there's not much of the verse.
Mm-hmm.
And now a short break.
So the next track seems to be a big fan favourite.
It is. So I actually would have rather picked a chore from this. Do you know that song? No.
I think so.
I'm surprised because that one, there's even like a Zane Lowe live lounge recording of it. But I picked this one because I thought the hook was very catchy and I really wanted you to see the music video. Love the arpeggio here. I love the little, I don't know, I'm going to say medieval guitar like almost hook. I like how the verses seem to pulse through the bass line and, and they're very tense, but then the chorus comes together in kind of a celebration. And there's even some bongos chucked in a little bit and it somehow works. And, I mean, let's be honest, Tom Veck's lyrics aren't always the best. But this one, the tongue-in-cheek of like aroused, obviously meaning different things. And the lyrics are, "You said only a back page will get as red as the first page. Now you're observing the corners are showing the first sign of aging. I'm not trying to read you anymore. Just keep on turning me through the days until the latest chapter unfolds." Lovely bit of business. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. But the music video, yeah, I remember when that came out, it was just really, really popular. Yeah, I saw some people being like, the pro smoking video, and it's like, I don't think that's what they're trying to do here. And here you have the credits. It's Sam Farahmand who did the amazing Part of the Weekend Never Dies documentary about Soulwax. And I went on his website, and actually, like when he's got like the main things that he's done, this is one of the videos that he's got in his portfolio.
Yeah, so yeah. I suppose I've not seen the video before. This one was like a George Michael sort of esque video, isn't it, from the early 90s?
Yeah.
Also in the computer game Forza.
Was it?
Yeah, not played it. But yeah, I put down that it sounds like, the sound you make if you get like a drain pipe and you bang on the drain pipe. Yeah. That's I don't know if that's a sample, but that's what it sounds like. And it's got like an Eastern harp going through. It's got an engaging chorus. Yeah, I can see why this would have been a single. It's probably one of the most catchiest songs on the playlist. I enjoyed it.
Okay, I would really a chore. I wonder if it might be a bit too repetitive for you. But I would say if you like this one, it's worth listening to a chore. It being another single off this album, and also there is an amazing. But I think you would hate it. There is an amazing cover version of him doing video games by Lana Del Rey, which is like, I
saw that on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a mashup with a chore. But yeah, if you don't like his voice, that is not the song for you. Not the song for you. And yeah, I wonder if the next one is. So I've put in the second B-side / random song from Nothingness, Film Your Own Television. There's also another B-side called Music Television, but that one was even more abrasive, so I went for this one instead. Which I was trying to figure out, like, was this a standalone single? But it seems to have been done for this Ray-Ban sponsored video. And I saw that Johnny Marr also did one, so I'm like, okay, very random people that they're getting, Ray-Ban. I mean, it works. Like, I believe he enjoys Ray-Ban. He even talks about, it's quite funny in the video because he's like, this is going to sound a bit tenuous, but like the visuals between.
Yeah, imagine it's like American architecture from like the mid 19th century or something.
Yeah, and that's when you're like, sure. I know this is it's repetitive, but that's what I like about it. I love the dirty synth hook. It's a much longer instrumental build-up than usual. Usually his vocals come in quite early. I think I quite like the fact that he's talking about Film Your Own Television. It sounds nostalgic, and it's obviously partially about New York because he's talking about being on the Lower East Side. It's almost parodiable when he's like, pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, that was like, okay.
But you were talking about how like Tom Veck loves to repeat a motif, and in the video about this song he says, literally, in my own stuff I quite like repeating a line or phrase which I feel has some meaning, and the line in this song is keep true to the dreams of your youth, which I think makes sense because it does sound like a young man exploring New York, probably reflecting on it, and now he's saying keep true to the dreams of your youth, as in, don't be cringe about it. Don't dismiss it because, it's important too. What did you think?
So I think that Johnny Marr was like part of gave everyone like a template. I think that line there was from Johnny Marr, and that was his involvement, because I think like on the podcast he asked him, how was it working with Johnny Marr? And I guess, well, I didn't actually work with Johnny Marr. I just got an email from Johnny Marr.
It's like the Converse one that had those random songs that we've talked about as well. Like every now and
Yes.
again, it does lead to something good.
So I put down this as one of my favourite songs on the playlist. It touches on the Chemical Brothers in the production, I thought.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Great live drums, great samples. If only it had a different singer doing a vocal melody.
Again, prepared for this. I think I also put that song to contrast with the next pick, Sherman brackets Animals in the Jungle from Luck.
Yep.
Now, this is the song where I really felt like, do you have the stats? So where did Luck chart? Probably outside the top 80, no?
It didn't chart.
Didn't chart at all. Because I really felt that this was the song that launched him back. At least in kind of the public consciousness, a little bit.
The only thing we could do is look at the YouTube, I guess.
Well, and the Spotify. So it is the second most played song on Spotify. The first one being Aroused.
But you did say that Spotify didn't have any of his songs for a while. Was that right?
Yes. So for a while, I forgot to mention this. For a very long time, at least in Belgium, it didn't have his first two albums. It only had Luck. And it was
going to hurt the stats, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to hurt the stats. And it's thanks to me and I think a random guy of Colombia that they got put back on because, again, Tom Veck posts every now and again on Instagram, and some guy from Colombia posted like, Tom, love your stuff, but like I just wish it was available on Spotify. And he was like, what? It's not? And then I jumped in being like, yeah, I'm in Belgium and it's also not on there. So I think that really would have affected. Although, the top songs now, apart from Sherman, the top... Okay, of the top 10, seven of them are not from that album. So he's got up a little bit.
Because looking at the YouTube stats, it's actually quite interesting seeing which ones that. And Aroused is his most played video below.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised because people are perving on the Smokers.
Well, but the second one is this one.
Yes, okay, which also doesn't surprise me.
But that's double S8E3 and Goodbye.
But I think it's because, I guess... again, Tom Veck was very mysterious to me. I didn't know what he looked like. Although I think on some of those early music videos, there's one which was like, oh, it was this and Maximo Park and Foals or something like that. They were the three music videos that were on MTV2 all the time. So I'm like, okay, there was clearly a part of it. But I listened to Tom Veck's songs not knowing who he was for a good 5 years. I didn't know who he was. I had no face to match to him.
I'm surprised he's actually in his music videos. So he enjoyed just hiding behind the music, so I thought he could have been easily one sort of guy who just gets actors or people just be in the music videos.
Well, do you know what? It's funny you say that because in A Chore, firstly it starts I think with some speech being like 6 long years and now we're back, and there's the Island Records logo. And then basically there's a woman who looks a lot like Tom Veck, and I've watched that video so many times and I'm trying to figure out if it's Tom Veck in drag or not. I cannot tell. If you have a chance to go look at it, I'd love to get your opinion on that. There is a bit where you can see Tom Veck as Tom Veck, but the singer representing him is that. And I think World of Doubt as well, it's 2 women. So sometimes he hides behind that. But I guess, he is a graphic design artist kind of person too. But yeah, I like I said, I chose Sherman because, this is one of my favorites of his. I love the shimmering motif that runs throughout, and the simple driving bass line, maybe my favourite bass line of his, and he's got some good ones. I feel like it's subjectively his best song, even though I don't know if it's my favourite song. And the title refers to Bonfire of the Vanities, a book by Tom Wolfe, which I read because of this book and because of this song, and I wasn't that into it. But it's a song that I can listen to on repeat, even though I know it very well. And the music video, it does something to me. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I remember my long-suffering ex-boyfriend from a while back who absolutely hated Tom Veck's voice and would hate me talking about Tom Veck. I remember showing him this music video and being like, oh, this is actually really good. Is
it the same director? Because it seems the same style as Aroused.
I was trying to find out.
And even the first model in Aroused looks like the main guy in Sherman.
Yes, yeah, which also looks almost a little bit like him as well. But there's something, I think someone on YouTube was like, that epileptic effect is so pleasant, but I just love not only when it's frame shot from different angles, but when you see him from behind and to the side, it's there's something very satisfying about the frames going in time to the music. I feel like to go a bit arty for a second, I feel very similar watching something like this to when I go to abstract art exhibitions, where I'm like, it's just lots of bright colors and shapes, and then I don't know what any of it means, but it just makes me happy to see that level of like precision and color. I'm basic.
That's the music videos. I only really like the 3 different locations. It's quite simple, really, but it does work. The fact that he will cut from behind the front to different angles, so it's quite cheap, but looks expensive. That makes sense.
But I think that not a lot. Some Tom Vec videos look some just look cheap, but some look impressive. And yeah, like I said, that No Thank You one is very funny with Olga Vec cosplaying. I found this review from Vice which I really loved. They say it's a cracking slice of danceable anger funk, and the video is reminiscent of the best TV show that never was, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Is it? Okay, there's more shining than Dark Place, but okay. Was that Anglo Punk they called it?
Anger funk. Anger funk. And yeah, I mean, Tom Vec refers to what he does as beat rock a little bit, so, but I'm like, okay, there's a bit. I know that Big Beat is electronica, but I'm like, I think dance punk is a bit more accurate.
It sounds more interesting than beat rock.
Beat rock sounds very serious. And yeah, just to finish off that review, they also say it's intoxicatingly repetitive, the perfect soundtrack for an ambivalent generation who want to throw shapes but also think about existential things.
I wasn't doing either, but I was enjoying the vibe, and I was
hoping you would enjoy the vibe. I was enjoying
the flashes of sound intercut between the soundscape he was creating, and as I said before, glad. It's really well produced. It's really well produced. And let's move on to the next song.
To my 9th pick, Rolling You Down.
So did he not release any videos for this album?
He did. He did for Fountain Spit Your Name. He did, where he's, again, drinking a lot. He loves a bit of smoke. He loves a bit of water, does that Tom Vec. That's also a very pared down black and white music video. So obviously Survive is my favourite song from this album. And the next one would actually be Guilty Pleasure, not this one. But I picked this one to tone it down a little bit. I thought it was almost trip-hoppy. And also has a sort of slidey ELP style synth towards the end, a bit like Lucky Man. And I thought this song represented a more mellow side to maturing Tom. As I mentioned, there's a song on this album called My Child. This is all about kind of the woes and anxieties of buying a house and raising his family. And yeah, I find it interesting that kind of thematically it's very different, but musically a little bit too, but there's still the soul of the old hot Tom Vec in there.
Although I noted that I think his singing is a bit less deadpan in this track.
You think?
Yeah, a bit more melodic. He's got a bit more range to it. I don't know if that's how that album sounds. I then suddenly thought, whilst listening to this track in particular, I wonder if Alt J and Everything were influenced by Tom Vec.
Funny you should say that. He's remixed both. Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if they're fans of him. But I enjoyed the phasing keyboard sounds, the climbing guitar line, and the weird 80s keyboard outro.
I was hoping that, sometimes I feel like it's always a bit of a risk when you go for a song that's too loud or too quiet. Like, is that going to put people off? But yeah, I wanted to put this one in as one of my preferred ones from that album, but a little bit different. So I'm finishing with the third B-side of the playlist, Things Are Here to Stay, which is a B-side to CC. This was one where, I think I discovered it the first time I went down a Tom Vec rabbit hole where I was like, again, why? Blessings in Disguise is another. He's got plenty of good B-sides for someone who doesn't have that much other music. You also touched upon the fact that, he's done a lot of remixes. I think other people have done remixes of him as well. And he's featured on, a DJ Shadow song as well, Warning Call.
And you haven't mentioned his production work as well.
Yeah, well, so I found out from going on Genius, because you know how on Genius you can go, it shows you the top 10 songs by an art, the top 10 most popularly searched songs on Genius. 3 of them were Spectre songs, and I was like, what? He collaborated with them, and it's like, oh no, he produced them. So yeah, you didn't know this either.
Lightspeed Champion also works with Fred McPherson, and Tom Vec kept mentioning how Test Icicles were friends of his.
Loved.
So that whole circle. That's their indie scene.
Catch It by Test Icicles. If you want to be assaulted by indie music of the noughties, go and Circle Square Triangle.
That is a banger. That is still a banger.
But Catch It is I don't know, a bit like Crystal Castles when it goes a bit mad. Love it. Back to Mr. TV. So I wanted to finish with this because I felt like this was a bit of a punch in the air sort of song. I'm hoping you enjoy the production on this because there's many discordant synths and keyboards. I quite like how jagged it is. Although there is this kind of fragile piano that comes in, and it's the most kind of real instrument outside of a guitar that or drums that you hear on a Tom Vex song. And I do wonder, like, I wonder what he would sound like with a few more maybe strings and pianos. I also really, really like his harmonies here. And yeah, I just thought this was as anthemic as it gets with Tom Vex, so I wanted to finish on a bit of a high.
Yeah, I put down, I enjoy the distorted keys. It sounds like he's playing a keyboard through a guitar amp to get that sound, that dirty sound. And again, I was really surprised when the piano came along because it's at least expecting that.
Unexpected.
Yeah, and, I mean, it might go on a little bit too long for me. It's a similar formula, but yeah, as far as B-sides go, it's easily good enough for his album. I mean, is there songs on the album which you would get rid of and be replaced by?
Yeah. For sure.
It's weird that happens, isn't it? When there's there's so many bands I like when there's 4 or 5 B-sides that's great, and then there's some shit on the album. I was like, who made these choices?
I'm looking at We Have Sound now. There's 2 that I maybe not necessarily skip, but if I'm doing the tour of the album, I'm not putting them first. And yeah, Blessing in Disguise, Things Are Here to Stay, and One Horse Race. I cannot believe they're all from that era. I can't believe they're not all.
Unless, because obviously back in those days, people were doing B-sides on their 4th single after the album, so sometimes that could be the case.
But it's funny that you say that he's someone who you don't really. You only hear me speak about, because quite a few of my friends from Warwick, from university, are fans, and in fact, my friend Alice, when she saw that he was on tour, posted in a WhatsApp group that we're in, and my cousin Mariana, who is Portuguese, and she's into this kind of music, but she really likes him as well. So actually, surprisingly, he is a sort of niche taste, but that some people around me do like, and hopefully one a little bit more for the production values at least.
No, do you know what? I completely forgot how he sounded until I put it in the playlist. And the first song was Hold Your Hand. I think his vocal isn't the best on that one, but his vocals do get better as they go along. And yeah, after maybe 3 or 4 times, they grew on me. And this isn't a struggle. This wasn't like Tom Waits or some terrible previous playlists. So I'm into dance punk. The bands you mentioned, the bands I like. So yeah, it's just perfectly fine. And yeah, I'm not gonna rush out and buy Tom Vex albums. How many people are on Spotify following him?
Depressingly, 38,000.
38,000.
But it's very surprising because his top song has 3.4 million almost aroused.
That's because of maybe Forza, the computer game.
Yeah.
So in that case, yeah, he's underrated because that's shocking.
I can sleep well tonight. I can sleep well. But again, like I said, unlike with Sneaker Pimps, which blindsided me, I know that Tom Vex's voice especially is quite divisive, but I quite like the louche, chilled way that he delivers. But maybe it is, like you say, something that's you need to get used to a little bit. And yeah, you do have to like a hook and a repetitive motif a lot of the time. And I know that sometimes I think you prefer more of a story, a build up, whereas I like abstract art, color, shiny, repetitive colors.
I guess that's why I don't like R&B and hip hop, because I do like the climb.
Yeah,
I like a bridge and a chorus, I quite like anthemic music. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, Fran, keep true to the dreams of your youth. That's what Tom Vex would say to you, and that's okay.
Thank you, Tom. So yeah,
and that's how we're finishing today.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, of course, I'm going to echo Tom Vex's call for thanks for buying music. I'm following the conversations on these new websites, Tom Vex, but also James Blake has been, trying to do something, I think, as well. Yeah, again, it's the same drum as ever. How can musicians survive? How can we support them? Let's see how it goes. Also, yeah, like I said at the beginning, I still haven't decided which festival I'm going to this year. Have you?
So Victorious probably will be the one I go to just because it's closest. Isle of Wight actually isn't bad, but Isle of Wight's it's everyone I've seen before. So like,
Right,
it's a lot
yeah.
of bands I love, but is it enough for me to bother having to pay to get onto a ferry and then getting onto a hotel, blah 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 blah? So I don't know. But yeah, Victorious will probably be the only one I go to, unless I get offered a free Isle of Wight ticket. Who knows?
So the frustrating thing is the two best festival lineups I've seen have been in Lisbon, right? Lisbon, where there is a place I can stay for free. But they are both in summer, and it's like, I do not want to go to a country where it can very easily get to 40 degrees and be at a music festival. Mel Calorama looks amazing. It is the best lineup I think I've seen. And I was looking at Pukkelpop, which is, one of the big Belgian ones. But that one, it was basically like, I'm not fussed by the non-Belgian bands, and the Belgian bands, I've seen them all before. So Best Kept Secret is maybe still what I'm thinking of, but yeah, I don't know, it's getting a bit late in the day, let's see. But I will say that I won't disclose locations because I don't know how stalkery our listeners are, but I'm going to see two bands this year in two Belgian towns that I've never been to before. And it's very convenient because it's like on a Friday, so I can, take a train back or stay over and then maybe explore the next day. And it's just, it never fails to amaze me, like, in how many random parts of Belgian bands play. And I almost went to see a third Belgian band in a third town last weekend, but it didn't work out. So kudos to Belgium for your strong and vibrant live music scene. Keep up the good work. Anywho, live music, see bands, buy music, love Tom Veck. Peace out.
Peace out indeed. Thank you for listening to our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know if you think that Tom Veck's underrated, overrated. If you think Foals are underrated or overrated. We are on social media, and you can find us at OU Music Pod on Twitter, or Overrated Music Pod on Instagram. You can even email us at overunderrated@gmail.com if you want to. It'd be nice to hear from you. And like, subscribe, tell your friends, enjoy the tracks, and catch you later. Bye bye.